All right, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Parul, and I'm really very glad to be here on this Data Talks Club conference. And the topic that I'm going to talk to you about is, I think, something more about my journey than maybe a presentation. And what I'm going to tell you about in the next 45 minutes or so is about how I transitioned my career into data science from a not so data science background. And hopefully, from my learnings and my experiences, you'll get an idea about how to traverse this path and how to avoid some of the pitfalls that people normally encounter. So, if you have any questions, just put it in the tab and I'll be happy to take them after the session.
Yes, so sorry for interrupting. For those who just joined, there is a pinned message in the chat, in YouTube chat. If you go there, click on this. This is how you can ask a question. So just ask a question there, and we will cover these questions after the talk. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no problem. So, so before we start, for the ones who do not know who I am, let me just tell you, I work as a data science evangelist at H2.ai. That's an AutoML company, which is headquartered in Mountain View, California. I've been working there since 2019. Before that, I worked as an electrical engineer in a power distribution company in India. And so you see there's a 3-year gap, and that gap is because I took leave, maternity leave, and then I took a break from career. And so I rejoined in 2019. I'm also pretty active on Kaggle, and I'm a Kaggle Grandmaster in the notebook section because I love to explore data and then share with the community. And apart from that, I also run a group called Women in Coding and Data Science, or WICDS. And we sort of started amidst the pandemic, because during that time, with a focus towards students mostly and females in India, because it was a lot of hard time, especially because everything went online and a lot of people were having issues, internet connectivity and so on. And so we thought probably there could be another way in which we could help them through mentorship and stuff like that. Now it has sort of spread in just a span of 6 months all over the world. So if you're interested, you can go and check it out on a LinkedIn page. So just giving a little sneak peek about what H2O is, so that it just sets things into perspective as to why I am talking on these things. So H2O is basically a startup, and we were founded in 2012. And today, as of today, we sort of have platforms. So we have AutoML platforms. So one of them is H2O3, which I think a lot of people they know about. It's an open source machine learning at scale platform. We also have H2O driverless AI, which is enterprise AutoML platform. And then apart from that, we have H2O Wave and H2O AI Cloud. So if you'll see, we basically create AutoML systems to make it easier for our companies to sort of use machine learning to solve problems. And so that way, during my past sort of around 2 years working this company, I've learned a lot, not only about data science and machine learning, but also how people and companies are using machine learning and data science to solve problems. So this was a little background about myself, but before that, I jump right into the transitioning part and telling you what to do and what not to do. The slide sort of just sums up my entire journey, my professional journey actually. So in 2009, I graduated as an electrical and electronics engineer, and what it was very straightforward to go and work in an electrical company. So what you see on the right hand side is basically things in which I used to spend my entire day, not physically, but we used to get data from all sorts of power lines and transformers. And so my everyday revolved around all these things: step up transformers, step down transformers, voltage, current, voltage loss, and so on. And this continued. And I'll also tell you what sort of work I was doing there. In 2015, I became a mother, and it was during that time when I came across, I started connecting dots of data and data science with what I was doing and what lay there in the market. And so in 2015, I became a mother, and then 2016, I left my job, and then my life, just you could say, it just transformed. So this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you my journey after 2015, but also I'll also tell you how my prior life, what I did there as an electrical engineer, actually helped it. So for the people who want to transition and then they say that, we come from a very different background, this is something that I want to highlight here, that all of us are working with some kind of data in some form with some tools. So it's how you put and connect those dots and then you make a switch. So like I was telling you, what basically used to happen during my work was we used to get lots and lots of data because since a power distribution company, there are a lot of consumers who consume electricity, and then we used to measure their monthly consumption rates, and that data used to come to us, and we used to analyze that data. Now we used to analyze that data for a bunch of things, but the most important one was like, are there faulty meters? Maybe the meters are not recording the consumption, because then that means that's a loss to the company. Are there people who are indulging in theft of electricity? Of course, again, the bills are going to be way less than the way they consume. Or are they misusing electricity? For instance, like the norms for residential usage is very different from the industrial usage, and so there are people who take the connection in the name of a residential entity, and then they open or do some business there. So we used to look out for these things, but all of these were normal things, and I did not know at that time what data science, data analysis, machine learning, what it is. This was normal job that everybody was doing, and I was also doing. And so this, I just wanted you all to just remember that this was my work that I was doing from 2009 to 2015. And we were using proprietary software and Excel. A lot of it was being done in Excel. And this, now you just park it, we'll just park this over here and we'll revisit this. So the first thing when people want to transition into data science, what I like to ask them about is why data science? Why do you want to get into data science? What is this that triggered the whole concept, that you want to become a data scientist or data engineers or data analyst whatsoever? And one of the main thing to understand is you need to learn to love data. You should be comfortable. So I don't mean you should be comfortable in doing a lot of analysis, but whenever you see this bunch of numbers, they should excite you, and you should want to, see what is the pattern in that numbers, or what are the number trying to tell you, and can you get something out of this? If you actually don't like seeing a lot of numbers, a lot of data, then probably you should ask yourself again, why do you want to get into data science? Only because everybody around you has this tag of data scientist on LinkedIn, or the companies who are hiring, or probably there are a lot of advertisements going out nowadays, on YouTube and all that. There are these courses, and you can become a data scientist in a span of like 6 months, 4 months, 2 months, a week. So you need to be comfortable in looking at least at data and understanding where this data is coming from, what is the purpose of this data, and why is this data being generated. Now, data science is a very unique field. And why I say unique is because it is an interdisciplinary field. And there's something for everybody. So not only we require people with software skills, good software skills, we also require people who have statistics, they understand maths, but we also require people who have domain experience. And that's a very important skill. And that skill is not something that you can learn in a day or two. It's something that you build up during the years when you work in an industry. So if you're working in insurance sector for the past 10 years, you're going to have more domain experience that I have. If you're working in the energy sector, of course, I bring some amount of experience that when I see data, then I understand, this data, this is something this, because, there are a lot of bunch of reasons which I know. So the whole concept of domain experience is very important in data science. And sometimes when you have to generate features, this domain experience comes in a lot handy. And uh, you a great thing about data science is that it brings all these different you could say, experiences from different fields, and it just sums it up together. And so this makes it open to everybody, all the people. In fact, I think there's a more need for people from different backgrounds to come into data science, because the amount of experience and the value that bring will help you diversify this field. So it's not that we have to just stick to, we just need software engineers, or we just need statisticians or mathematicians. We need to open it to everybody, and everybody is welcome. But when everybody is welcome, then you also have to see where your strength lies. And if you're coming from a different career or a different path, then go and check where your strength lies and then start working on it. So this is a slide that I've taken or borrowed from our company's deck itself. And if you see here, if you see this whole life cycle, you see that it doesn't happen that, there's just one person who's sitting and then he gets the data and then he creates models and predictions. What you see is there's so many people involved. Now, if it's a big company, of course, you're going to have a big diverse team. But if it's going to be small companies, then there might be few people who will be working, and more than one role is handled by a single person. So you have data engineers for data exploration, augmentation, getting the data. Then there are data scientists who experiment and do all the model development and so on. Then you have ops and data ops engineers who do the testing and deployment. And then they are the application developers, because ultimately you have to create a product that can be consumed by the business users, and it has to be converted into it. So you see, this is a cycle, and this is a big cycle. So you can also see where you fit. If you come from a programming background, you can see where you fit. If you come from an analytical background, you can see where you fit. Also, there's room for people who are BI analysts and all. So you can see here. And it's not that you only have to stick to it, but you can start with this to start transitioning into that sort of role in which you're comfortable, and then along the way learn other skills also. So the first one was, you need to learn to love data, and you have to firstly answer this question, like, why do you want to get into data science? So once you're clear about that, you think, yes, I think data really excites me, then it's time to create a learning path. And it's very important to understand that everybody needs to create a different learning path, because what would be beneficial for one person may not be ideal for others, because everybody have different learning curves, everybody have different capacity to take in things and understand things. So this is something which I really don't like, when you join some courses and then they say that you do this first and then second and third. It's not necessary. I think there may be instances that you are quite comfortable in one of the module, and then you don't want to spend such a lot of time, but you want to work on something that you're weak at. So you need to create your own learning path. And how do you know? For that, you'll have to do some research. You have to see what people are doing, what they need to study, and what you need to study. So for instance, this is a very general path. If you're coming from absolute no programming background, then you need to start getting accustomed with a programming language, and which could be any language of your choice. But if you're coming from an absolute no programming background, R, Python, Julia, I think these are the ones which people are using a lot. And I would suggest that get comfortable in coding. I don't mean to say you have to sort of solve all the whiteboard interviews, but getting some level of experience and getting a comfort level in coding is essential, because then you have a lot of freedom and also a lot of control over a lot of code that is written, and then you can also understand why the other person is coded in this way. This is an iterative process. It takes time. So as soon as you start your data science journey, also make sure that you also spend some amount of time on coding in the programming part, and otherwise also it's pretty useful getting to know how to code. You can automate scripts, you can automate some of the boring part of what you're currently doing in your work. Next is stats. And of course you need that. There's no doubt about that. There are a lot of people, I think, who have an idea about the stats and the high school mathematics and also for them it's pretty simple. But there are some people who have difficulty in understanding the whole concepts of so for that, there's this book called Naked Statistics. It's by Charles Whelan. Now, what it does is it's kind of a stats course, which a lot of people didn't take. And so for the people who read mathematics, it has very practical examples to make you understand. And it's a pretty great read. You can just read it when you have some time. And it's a paid book, but there are a lot of blogs who have just summarized what's written in it. So I would highly recommend this. It's a pretty interesting book to understand. And all the concepts of stats which you require, they've just broken down into very understandable language. So next from there, now what I'm telling you, you don't need to follow them in the same order, just pick what you want to work on and then you can start doing that. And then we talk about the actual data wrangling part. And, like we all know that data seldom comes in those desired format that we like, in complete clean forms. And you also have to understand a little bit about SQL, NoSQL, and how to get the data. Now, if you are like absolutely, you've not worked with all these technologies before, Kaggle is a platform. So it's a data science platform, famous as a data science platform, but it has a lot more than that. And they have dedicated an entire module called bite-sized courses, absolutely free. And they take the data sets from Kaggle only. So what you see on the screen, you see that these lots of small courses. They don't take much of time, 2 to 3 hours, and you can complete it. And you can do it in the Kaggle environment itself. So they're pretty great to get started. So there's this Intro to SQL and Advanced SQL. So for beginners, I would suggest this is a very hands-on sort of a course. And it's great to get you started. And then there's no end to learning, and the more you practice, and then the better you become. And then becomes something that everybody wants to jump in, right? That is the machine learning and deep learning and creating models, creating predictions and sort of things. And of course, you're working all the previous things that I told you. It's all, you could say, the journey towards actually creating models. And these 3 resources I found, 4 resources actually on the screen, I found pretty useful during my sort of journey. Of course, everybody begins with Andrew Ng's course. It's more on the theoretical side, but it gets you started and just gets you understand, bits and pieces of what the whole machine learning is. But then you need to practice. And if you're a person who wants to go by the textbook and you want to something to refer, I think these 2 books I found really useful. One of them is Hands-on Machine Learning with Scikit-learn, and the other is Machine Learning Bootcamp. That's why I actually won it as a prize in one of the competitions that I participated in. And I think it's a pretty project-based book, and I was going through it. I really like it. So it's like you dive into doing and then you learn by doing. And it has a lot of modules and project-based learning. And for deep learning, again, so there's this Fast AI course by Jeremy Howard and Rachel. And so that basically will help you understand the nuances of deep learning. So why you use this algorithm, why this model. And then once you have an idea, then you should start applying, because unless and until you practice, you won't get anywhere. It sometimes feels nice to just consume content passively, just read books or see videos and see lots of videos. And then you think, okay, this is so simple. But when you start working and coding, and you get stuck. So it's very important to also practice. And it doesn't have to be that, you have to be correct the first time or everything should run. The best way to learn something is when you get errors and bugs. And I think it's during the debugging that most of us, they learn the maximum. So you go to Stack Overflow, you search on Google, and you try asking other people. And then you understand, okay, if I do this, then this happens, so I should do this. So when you talk about doing, what should we do? So that's a question that I get a lot of time. So what do you mean? A lot of people say, start working on projects, start working on projects. What sort of project? How do we work on projects? And that's a very good question. So how do you find projects to work upon? if you are in a current company which doesn't use ML, how will you find projects to work on? How do you approach people, to let them get into the project or contribute to their projects? So one of the ways is Kaggle. Now, Kaggle, of course, is known famously for the machine learning competitions that it organizes, and uh, it hosts competitions where people from around the globe, they come and they participate, and then we have leaderboards and the teams who win prizes and win medals and so on. But there are other aspects of Kaggle also apart from competitions, and those are notebooks, discussions, and courses like I showed you, and data sets. So Kaggle also hosts a lot of data sets by the name of Kaggle data sets. And you can find a lot of data sets over there, which is available, of course, for free. And you can use those data sets, read about them, what it is used for. And then you can jump into the code section. So the code section is called notebooks. And notebooks are this cloud hosted environment similar to Jupyter notebooks, if you're people aware of it. And the best part of using Kaggle notebooks is you don't need to install a lot of libraries. Most of them are pre-installed. You have access to GPUs and TPUs, and you can just create an environment there, just work on them, and then it's over then. And next time you can go and access it from that itself. So you have those environments over there. So you pick up a data set from Kaggle, and then you start working on it in the notebooks. And you will see that a lot of people have already done something. If you choose a data set, then you'll see there are about hundreds of other notebooks already there. Go and read through those notebooks, see what people are doing, how they're using the data sets. There are some people who create great visualizations, and then you see, okay, this was a way to actually analyze this data set. It was so good. And then that is the way to learn. See their code, learn through their code. If you don't understand, you might also just message them and ask. And so that way, Kaggle, it's a great platform, not only for machine learning competitions, which is actually great because you get to see how machine learning is being used to solve different problems, but you can also use the other aspects of it, like you could use the data sets, like notebooks, see what others are doing. And even for competitions, if you don't want to participate, that's absolutely okay. But people also leave their code for others to see. Even for a currently running competition, some of the people, they say, okay, so this, we just started, this is the exploration that we've done. So it's always great to look at it. So you can go to Kaggle, create an account, see the competition, see something that you think excites you, and see what people have done with that competition, how they've approached it, and think of how people approach competitions, look through different competitions. So that's also a great way to learn. And then you also take that data set and do something of your own. So Fatih is one of my colleague at H2O. He's also a Kaggle competitions grandmaster. And so I just recently interviewed, and I just wanted to know, like, how did he start and what advice would he give to newbies? So he said a very valid point. And what he said was, he said, I would suggest not to worry too much about questions like where to start, which courses to take, which tools to learn. So the problem happens is a lot of us, we get stuck in this whole thing of, should we take this course, which is the best course? Can you suggest a course? Or what we should use, Python or R or TensorFlow or PyTorch, etc. What he said was, jump directly into data science project or a competition and then start learning from the others. So he said that I improved myself by getting my hands dirty early on. And I used to analyze other people's code and used to ask questions like, what is this code there? Why did the person code like this? Why didn't he code the other way? And then to answer these questions, he would either Google or search on the net, or maybe even ask the person directly through Kaggle itself. So the learning that you get through this way is like pretty rapid, and it's way more, you could say, solid and more robust than when you just start following one chapter and the other. And, like, first I'll do only the visualizations, then I'll only do the modeling part, then I will jump into competitions or a project. As opposed to that, if you follow a top-down approach, I think the learning curve, it sort of reduces a lot. Now, if you remember, I'm talking about projects, and when we talk about projects, like I also mentioned that people always ask, how do we get to work on projects? How do we know what projects to work on? So if I revisit the slide that I showed you, when I was going through all these resources that I had, and I also used to consume a lot of content passively, I just remembered, that the work that I was doing was also entailing a lot of data. And what if I could use these other tools that I'm learning now, and I could use those tools for the data that I had, which I used to use in my office? Is there some value that I can add to that? And it was during that point when I just realized, how data, I don't need to separate my uh, experience of as an electrical engineer to jump into data science career. I realized that I had to take both of them together, and it would be really an add-on. And so this is one of the sheet, and that's a real sheet of data that I used to work upon. And you see that every day we used to work on this data. We used to have IDs, we used to have the K numbers are actually consumer numbers. These were the meter numbers and the day on which the data was downloaded. And so this is code for voltage and current, and voltage in 3 phases and current in 3 phases. And then when I used to work on data, then I started using other tools, not the ones that I used to use in my work, but I started using other tools. And it was during that moment, it struck to me, it's all connected. And so for all of you also, I think everybody works with some kind of data in any career, any profession that you have. Try using that data and try sort of doing something which could sort of ease your work. You could automate some of the scripts, or you could find out to analyze it. You could do some EDAs and to understand more about what you're doing. And that way is how you start using data science into your current work. And then you can start on creating projects out of that slowly and slowly. So firstly, if you cannot find any good data sets, start finding it in the work that you're doing, because if you could just make that work simpler or maybe automate that stuff, I think that's going to add a lot more value to the current work that you're doing. And then you can share with your colleagues, your managers, and show, if we could introduce data science in our current work, I think this is going to solve a lot of problems. Apart from that, these are the other sources from where you can get data sets, like Google data sets, Kaggle data sets subreddit, or UCM machine learning repository. They have lots of data sets. But I always suggest, if you're starting new, try looking for some real world data set that you can find around you. Maybe pollution data sets, weather data set, some real ones, so that you can do some analysis and then present the report. So when I was initially doing all this stuff, I'll just share with you. So when I was learning Python, and so what I did was, I thought, let me sort of create a small project. It was a very simple project. I created a chatbot actually. It was very simple. It didn't have any, nothing conversational AI. It would just read the content and just give the answers from whatever the corpus used to feed into it. But I really liked to sort of see, and I'll just share with you. So this was a small, you could say, project that I did. And that is something that I always advise people also to start sort of building projects. And during this whole thing, what I learned was, not only did I learn how to sort of use Python efficiently, I also learned how to use GitHub. And so I posted it here, and it was very simple. It would just sort of create, I used to ask questions and it would just give me the answer. And even if you'll see the code is pretty simple. So and so this is very simple. And what it used was, I had learned about analytical library and Python, and I just mixed both of them. And I also wrote an article on that, and everything I put it on LinkedIn, on GitHub. Now, what happens was, this was sort of, a lot of people, they liked it, and it was so simple. If you see the year, this is 2018, and if you see, and a lot of people, they liked it, and as opposed to what I thought. And when I go back and look at it today, I think it's pretty simple. But this gave me a lot of confidence, even though there were comments also about, it doesn't have any conversational properties, it doesn't predict things. But what I want to say is, just whatever, even if it's very simple thing, just try and create a project, put it on GitHub, let people take their feedback. And then, of course, when a lot of people said, this doesn't have such advanced properties, and then what you should do is you should increase your level. So once you are comfortable, and then after that, then I sort of created another conversational chatbot on Rasa using Rasa and Python. So the idea is to start creating projects, put it on GitHub, and create blog posts out of it, and so that people can see what you're doing. And you can also share on LinkedIn and Twitter, and so that people can see what you're doing. And don't worry, it could be small. You could collaborate and do things together. And it's from there I come to this, my fourth point, that's contribute to open source projects. So when you'll go on GitHub, you'll start posting on GitHub, you'll start to become active. You'll also see a lot of other people also are, putting out their work out on GitHub. And so the beauty of open source is you can contribute to it. And don't think that a contribution always has to be in terms of, you'll have to create a new library and then all sort of things. No, a contribution can be very small. So if you'll see, there's this library called Lux, and it's a visualization library. And I went through the examples that they had and really liked the library. And so I created another example, which they could put it on their and they could use it in their examples or tutorials, and I put it there. So it could be as simple. It could be as simple as finding a mistake, and then you could just say. So what this does is you start contributing to others' work also. Initially, it might be simple, but later on, you could also contribute some great things. You can collaborate with people and create some libraries. A lot of open, biggest libraries or the most famous libraries today are all open source. So you should always come out of that comfort zone and start looking at other work, start contributing, and of course, contributing to open source. There could be nothing wonderful than contributing there. And every contribution counts. Start with things simple. And then as you go on, you can also do some wonderful stuff. So now we've touched upon a few points, like we've touched upon things, create projects, put it out on GitHub. And also, I think one of the most underrated, I could say, things that people do in data science when they keep thinking about creating better and better models, which is actually essential, is also communicating. You should be able to communicate, and what better way to communicate than to write? A writer has a lot of, you could say, control. A writer can help things become simple for others. You can simplify things which I think others are not understanding and put it in blog. Today it's pretty simple. If you don't want to get into the hassle of creating your own websites, you can post on Medium. It's completely free. Start writing. There are some great publications there. They can help you spread your blog post. So start writing. Initially, it won't be that good, but over the years, you will learn how to write better and more effectively. You'll understand some nuances of technical writing. And this is also very important because once you write something, I think this helps you to learn even better, because there's some things that's not clear in the one go, but then when you write it and when you start explaining it, then when you write something that you want to explain to others, a lot of things you start understanding it better. And writing is something that you should start early on. Start early on, even if you're starting into your data science journey, start writing there, because it takes time to build a community. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort to write. If you cannot write every day, maybe write 1 or 2 days in a week and then sort of increase it, and then you're going to enjoy this process. So these are some of the ways in which you can communicate your insights. You can start a blog. You can even teach somebody. You can offer to teach people, and you can use GitHub to host and share all your analysis. You can also get active on communities like Quora, Machine Learning, subreddit, Twitter, LinkedIn, and share whatever great insights you have. It's always good to let people know what you're doing, because you cannot work in data science and silos. And especially when you're thinking of transitioning a career, you have to be a little bit active on that front also. And finally, networking. Networking is very important. Also because you not only get to know great people, but also you get to learn from others. And there's several ways of networking with people. Of course, when during the pre-COVID era, there used to be a lot of meetups. Meetups were a great place to hang out with people and get to know them. But today, of course, everything is gone virtual, so that also has a lot of benefits. Like you can attend meetups in any part of the world. So you can also not only attend them, but volunteer to speak also, because public speaking is it's a great skill for a data scientist. And meetups give you that exposure and that experience. So you can start with meetups and then maybe in future go out for conferences. And you can also organize meetups. You can get in touch with great speakers and people and then invite them over. So this also helps to increase your horizon and your network. And also there's some great channels out there on Slack. Join them, interact with people, share some great stuff, and respond there, be active. You have to be a little active during that front also. Tell people that you're working on this project, somebody's interested to collaborate, or you are also open for collaboration. You can work for competitions, you can interact with people and say, hey, I want to work on a Kaggle competition. Is anybody interested? Would you want to team up and work? So all these things are pretty important, especially when you want to transition to data science. So few key points is just revisiting them. Again, we started with, of course, why you want to get into data science. And the important thing is, of course, you need to learn to love data. So when you understand, then you need to create a path for yourself. You have to say, if you're good at programming, then you could possibly, and if you're weak in stats, you can focus more on that, but you're weak in programming, you're good in stats, you can focus on that. So try focusing on something that you are weak, and don't just keep doing the same thing again and again. I've seen a lot of people, they do hundreds of courses, and every time when they are doing courses, they will start from the same beginning thing, like what is machine learning? You have to increase the level, and you don't have to sort of go through every course book by cover. Just try to analyze what you are weak at and start focusing more on that part. Then practicing and learning. I think this has to be that golden rule. You need to code, you need to write, you need to stop consuming everything passively or just watching YouTube videos and thinking, okay, I've seen this course and now I know everything. You have to make sure to start going hands-on. Contribute to projects, create your own projects, write blogs, share your experiences, and you'll understand when you write blogs, there are so many people out there who are also in the same situation. So you might also connect with them. And then speak at meetups, organize meetups, attend meetups, ask questions in meetups. So if you talk about blogging, so WICDS is the Women in Coding and Data Science group that we had just founded. So the first thing that I did was I organized a blogathon actually. So I organized a blogathon and I wanted people to write. And to my surprise, a lot of females told me that they never thought that they will ever write. But because it was a competition, there were a lot of incentives, there were prizes also. People wrote, and some of them wrote beautifully. And now they're writing regularly. And now it's like a chain reaction. It has started and people are now writing. And now what they tell me, the feedback is when they publish a blog, they feel so happy about it. And now they're searching for more and more things to write on. So because of that, they research. And so that research, the thing to research has also, increased. Now they like to go and go deeper into any aspect. So if you're writing about CNNs, they'll go in deeper. They start even seeing how did it start. They'll go and read the linet and everything. So that is something which it instigates when you write, because you just can't think and write. When you're writing technical, you have to go and research a lot. You have to make sure you don't write wrong things. So how does this all come into one picture? So if you see this picture, this is exactly the path I had followed. I started writing on Medium in mid 2018, and I really enjoyed it. And I used to write for every day, also because I was not working at that time. And because I used to write on Medium, then slowly I started looking for means where I could share things. So LinkedIn was a great platform. I created an account on LinkedIn and I started sharing on LinkedIn. People started connecting and they said, okay, we read it, it was good, and probably you can write it that way, probably you can write it this way. And so I started getting feedback. And so I became pretty active on LinkedIn. And so from there, I started attending meetups, a lot of them, started speaking there, and also started becoming active in Kaggle. So I was using Kaggle only for downloading data sets, which was pretty wrong, as I say. There's no harm in actually participating there also. You shouldn't be scared of Kaggle. And then I started putting out my work on Kaggle, also started analyzing data sets and all stuff like that. And in the midst of this, I landed a job at H2O also. And H2O is a pretty leading name in the automobile industry. We have a lot of Kaggle grandmasters who are working. And every day I get to learn something new from them. Every day I'm going to look out for learning something new because it's such of data science is a field where you just cannot stop. There are things happening, state-of-the-art models are changing every day. So you should be always upfront for learning and also enjoying. So the mantra that I would always say to people is the most important thing for you is to find a data that you're interested in that creates questions you want to answer. And so just get out there, get your hands dirty, and have fun along the way. Don't think it as a 6 month or a year course. Whenever you learn something, you should always feel happy about it, and you should then think of what you can do with this. So data science, it's a great tool that you have in your hands, and you can create wonders. You can help people solve a lot of problems, especially for countries which are sort of developing. You can really help the organizations, the NGOs, and the government, and use your skills for good. So I hope this has just clarified some of the things for you. But in case you want to get in touch with me, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me on Twitter and LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I was taking so many notes. Like I am so happy that I invited you, because now when somebody asks me, how can I transition to data science? This is what I will recommend them to watch. Like now I will not need to think, I will not need to Google, I will just take the recording and give it to them. So this is amazing. Thank you very much for this is such a good summary, such a good plan that I'm very happy that that you're here sharing it with us. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think it's always good because I think a lot of people out there, they're always confused as to how to start things. And I have had the experience, I think I would like to share with people, because if people get benefited from this, that could be nothing as satisfying as that.
Yes, so we have a couple of questions. So first, more is like a more comment, like that the learning curve is pretty steep, especially for people who cannot code and do not have math background. And so they learn coding, they learn the theory, they learn mathematics, they learn like in cloud and deployment, all that, and then they get rejected because they do not have any work experience. Yeah, so what would you recommend them to do in this case? Like if they work on these things, they develop a portfolio, they pick up the skills, but then when they start applying, people need somebody with experience, and then they hit this infinite loop of to get hired, you need to have experience, and you cannot get experience without getting hired. So do you have any recommendations to break this?
So I think for this, one of the most important point is about networking, because yes, it's a reality that this is the problem that people are facing, that people companies say we want experience, but then they say you'll only get experience once you sort of hire us. So for this, networking is very important. And an example I'll give you is recently there's a person on LinkedIn, he posted that, they have a requirement for a person in finance for data science, and they require 2 or 3 years of experience. And the group, the WICDS that I do, uh, we have a portal there. We have a small channel which is called jobs. So what people they put in there, we are looking for jobs. We have this much years of experience, and then instantly I saw there's this female who was also looking for a job in the financial background. And so because I saw that, so I forwarded her resume. So that is what I was saying. You will have to network in such cases. Uh, there are people who are looking for candidates, I'm telling you, but it's just that people, they don't match. So there are some great groups and Slack channels. So you have to increase your network, and then that has ripple effect, and the network gets stronger. Because in data science, a lot of jobs are got through networking. Apart from that, there are some companies who hire people from Kaggle also. There are some recruiters who look through GitHub also. So also make sure that during the entire learning process, everything, make sure that these profiles try make it a little more robust, especially GitHub, because there are recruiters who scout through that also. A lot of recruiters reached out to me also via my GitHub because I used to be pretty active that time. So focus on that also.
Okay. And yeah, so basically networking is networking and then getting out there, sharing knowledge, right? That should help. Then we have a related question. You mentioned Slack groups, and the question is if you know any good data science Slack channels.
I think you had mentioned, you had summarized it very well. There's a post. I think probably I think Alexei has a better answer for that. I'm also in the Slack group, Data Talks, but he has this list of great things, so he might share with you. I think he's already summarized all of them.
So yeah, let me answer that. So if you go to datatalks.club, there is a list of articles, and then one of them is 8 Slack communities to join in 2021. It's a bit clickbaity, I must admit. That was the intention, and yeah. So just go there, and there are 8 communities that you can join, and we'll start with the first one, and the first one is datatalks.club. This is intentional, of course. So that is a good data science community. Yeah, sorry for a shameless plug.
No, please. Of course, I think a lot of people ask me also, so I always put that thing over and give it to them. Also, I would advise people to be active on. So by active, I don't mean that you have to be really posting stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn, but on Twitter especially, the data science Twitter is pretty useful. You can follow people. You don't need to like tweet every time. I'm not active that way, but I follow people and I get a lot of great, like especially all the new things that are happening in data science. I get it through Twitter itself. It's always great to follow people and only follow relevant people. You don't have to follow everybody on Twitter, then you start getting junk. But a lot of people I follow, Alexei, I think he shares great nuggets on data science about how you can approach things. And the other people also. So follow good people, follow people on Twitter, and it's pretty useful.
And yeah, so you are active on LinkedIn, you're active on Twitter. So what do you think about these platforms? Like if you had to choose between one of them, which one would you choose and why?
So Twitter, I sort of consume, you could say. I read what other people are sharing, great stuff. And LinkedIn, probably now because I have like around 63,000 followers. So whatever I share, it gets to more people. And if I were to choose, I think I will choose both of them. It's just that I got, I landed my job through LinkedIn. So
Mm-hmm.
I was discovered through LinkedIn, but that's because I used to share my articles on LinkedIn. And so that's how I got. So that is also the thing. You have to be aware of what you're sharing on LinkedIn. You shouldn't make it something that, that people get tired and they then think you are spammers. So make sure. And I have this thing that don't only share, not only share only your own things on LinkedIn, try supporting others, sharing some good material, good article of others also, because it's just not a channel of bragging. It's a community thing. So you should also try share some good stuff about other people also, and give them due credit, please. Uh, give the source from where you take things. It's very important because there are people who work behind that. So don't just claim it yours. Uh, Nothing is going to happen. The person is going to, in fact, thank you for sharing his or her work on LinkedIn. So I would say both of them have their good points and bad points. Twitter sometimes gets a little controversial. LinkedIn doesn't. So I think both of them have the pros and cons.
Yeah, thanks. I will definitely share this presentation. So this is amazing. And of course, I want more people to know about this presentation. So I will definitely share it. And yeah, like, please do that as well. Like everyone who is listening, because this is such a great presentation. So we have a question about writing, and how could someone get better at writing blog posts about their project in data science? And maybe this is something I also want to ask you personally about your experience organizing a blogathon. So maybe you can, like, I think they are somewhat related.
So when you start initially writing, I think the first thing is to just write. Don't think a lot about a lot of other factors, whether people are going to like this or people are not going to like this. If you like a topic, just write it, even though a lot of people must have written on this topic, because no matter what, everybody has a different way of telling the same story. But then when you start progressing, just read good blog posts by other writers and see how do they make it so engaging. Something that you have to keep in mind is your blog post should be engaging. And if you are especially into technical writing, don't try to put the entire technical jargon into it. Try simplifying it, because for reading the technical jargon, people can go and read the papers also. But what people look for blog posts is to just make things simpler. And it could be a very small thing. It could be even as simple as back propagation. Add little visuals into it, and you might have to work for it. I had to learn how to make GIFs, and how to work on some platform, because I thought that visual people understand more. So try making things simpler. And if you're just starting out, probably don't make your blog post very lengthy. Pick up on one topic and write. The, in fact, a lot of my blog posts, which have actually been very famous, were were as simple as using the value counts function in pandas in a more efficient manner, because uh, apparently a lot of people, they don't read documentations, and it was in the documentations that there are a lot of other features available in the value counts. And I just put it down there, and people were like, they've been using pandas for like 10 years and they didn't know about this functionality because people don't go and read documentation. So these simple things also, I think, uh, can it's something, if you can keep in mind, something new, novel thing that people are not aware about. And if you want to put the existing things, make it simple, even the words, even the English, everything. And then when you will just go on, you'll have some experience, then uh, you'll get better with practice.
Yeah, and about so I think the problem you were trying to solve with Blogathon, and I think you did it successfully, is exactly help people, like the person who asked a question, like how to help them get started with writing.
Yeah.
And so, what was your experience? Like, what did you learn by organizing this Blogathon?
So, you know what, when I actually started, I thought initially, I thought, a blogathon is starting and people are just going to jump into it, because if there's a blogathon out there, I would love to participate.
Mhm.
And initially, I people weren't participating, and I just couldn't figure out why people are not participating. And then I realized, I think it takes a lot of push to get people to write something. And then some of them told me that it's they can speak, but even writing two sentences, it's so tough. And it's just all in the mind, I think, because when those people, they wrote on varied topics, even I couldn't figure out. So then I had to actually tell people that I want your submission, I'm looking forward to it. And a lot of them were like, I don't know, we can't put it out publicly, people are going to judge us. And then I started understanding, okay, it's not that simple. It's like people are also scared about what others are going to feel. And that is not only with blogging, that's it with the project also, with public speaking also, uh, taking part in conference, because people are afraid of being judged. And this is a very sad thing also, because there are, of course, people have some bad experiences, and then it takes a lot of effort to come out of that. So during my art blogathon we organized, we told them, just write whatever you want, and you don't have to think about has to be good or bad. And once the blogathon gets over, we'll personally give you personal feedbacks if we need to give it to you. And then slowly, when people started writing, then we started sharing it. It was like, she's written it. Look, she's written for first time. And then people started seeing it, and they said, this time, okay, if she's written, okay, I'll also try. And then we actually saw there's a surge in it, and then ultimately we had some great numbers. But there's a lot of learning for that. But also the thing is, I don't want people to now stop writing because it's not a blogathon. So some people have still continued. It's great, but for others, I'll just like to. I think I'll need to give them another push to continue that, because that's necessary, I think.
Okay. Do you plan to run any more blogathons anytime soon? For those
I am.
especially who want to, start writing, maybe it could be the right push if they join
Yes,
your
yes,
blogathon.
yes. I think I'm going to make it maybe a 6 months thing, that 2 blogathons every year,
Hmm.
and then uh, I need to share the experience of the people, especially the first timers. I want them to come out, and then I want to also understand and learn from their experience. How was the experience writing? And I think winning and losing doesn't matter, but the fact that they participated. Uh, and especially, we did have a lot of undergraduates also participating in the blogathon, which is great, because when you start early, that time you don't think so much about what the people they think. It's only when you reach a certain stage and you start feeling what others' opinions. So I also want to encourage the students who are still in undergraduates to start inculcating this great thing of writing. It's going to help them in any career they'll choose.
Yes, thank you. So Vin, I think Vin is already there, and we need to wrap it up. So thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot for sharing all this invaluable information. We unfortunately couldn't cover all the questions, but yeah, feel free to join our Slack, ask these questions there, and maybe if you, Parul, have some time, maybe you can answer the questions there.
Yeah, sure, sure. I can do an AMA on the Slack channel also,
Yes, or Twitter or LinkedIn or any
or Twitter,
other
LinkedIn. Yes.
platform where people can find you. So thanks a lot. Thanks for coming. And yeah, so now we will have a short couple of minutes break, and then let me invite Vin. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right.